In-house, I have a contender for you guys, an AIO that's not perfect, but it's definitely far better than any of the budget options I've tested out thus far. So this here is ENERMAX's latest budget AIO, the LIQMAX 3 ARGB, a budget 240mm option that comes in either black or white, has a pretty impressive 5-year warranty, and doesn't have that horrendous pump whine we typically find on these more wallet-friendly options. In fact, this is one of the quietest pumps I've tested thus far, and that's without touching its voltage either. The design here is simple and consistent with other AIOs, although more in line with something like the Corsair H100i. The pump top has an all-black acrylic top plate with the ENERMAX branding in the center, and this top plate can be rotated if needed by removing the 4 small screws in each corner. Above that, we have a color-matching power cable for the pump, as well as a port to connect the cooler to an ARGB header on your motherboard. Unfortunately, like many other budget CPU coolers, this unit doesn't include an RGB controller. That means for any of you guys who don't have an ARGB header on your motherboard, RGB won't be usable here. While it's definitely a bummer, comparing the actual quality of the unit to the price tag, I do understand the cost saving measure here. Extending from the side of the pump, we find our all white nylon sleeve tubing that is very flexible and looks great. This is followed by an all white radiator that is built well and also has a small fill port in the event that the cooler needs to be refilled. It has room to attach 2 120mm fans to either side of the radiator, and included with this kit you get 2 all white ENERMAX ARGB fans with color matching cables. Unfortunately, the rest of the included cables don't share this detail, but luckily this doesn't take away from the aesthetics, as it's barely noticeable once installed. Speaking of installation, this is pretty simple, so let's go ahead and break it down. For starters, this is going to be compatible with basically all modern mainstream AMD and Intel based systems. Installation is also basically the same on both of them, minus a few small details. You'll use the Intel based brackets instead of the AMD ones, so we're just going to focus on showing you how to install it on an AM4 platform here today. So start by removing the black AMD retainers from your motherboard, then attach the mounting brackets to the pump with the included 4 small screws. Now grab the included metal backplate, flip it to the AMD side, and insert the 4 position screws into the proper holes. Go ahead and lock these screws in place by using the included rubber washers, and then attach the small adhesive square spacer to the top of the backplate. Now install the backplate onto the motherboard and use the large spacers to keep it in place. Add a little bit of thermal paste to your CPU, remove the plastic cover from the bottom of your pump, and mount the pump to the backplate using the 4 included spring screws. Be sure to alternate in a crisscross pattern until each screw is secured tightly. Now go ahead and attach the fans and radiator to your case and plug the fans, pump, and ARGB connectors in as required. Overall, the installation process is a piece of cake, although I did have 2 things I wanted to mention to you guys. First off, we have the spacers, and these are great all around because they actually grab onto the screw and keep it in place. This is nice because many units don't have this kind of addition, and so it makes it very complicated to get everything lined up just right. It made the process much easier, and I appreciate it. The other note I had was with the actual mounting bracket screws. These are very small and delicate, and while I did end up getting them attached properly for the most part, I nearly stripped 2 of them. They didn't go in easily, and one of the screws isn't exactly flush with the bracket like the others. I did see another review claiming this issue on Newegg, so hopefully ENERMAX begins to review this process to correct it for future batches of this cooler. Now, fortunately, it doesn't seem to have impacted the cooler's performance, as the cooler still is performing well all around. While this cooler is more of the middle of the pack when it comes to noise, this is mainly due to the actual fans and not horrific pump whine like the other budget AIO options I've tested out thus far. At the top end, we saw a max noise level of 43 decibels, and while not the quietest cooler I've tested, it's much better than the other 2 budget AIOs I've reviewed on this channel. Better yet, these fans stay under 40 decibels of noise output until about 85% fan speed, and so you have a ton of room to tweak your fan curve to keep it at a reasonable noise level. Also, since this is based on the noise output from your fans, you'll always have the option to replace the fans if you so choose. You don't really get this option with the other 2 AIOs because the pump whine is just awful unless you're dropping the voltage of it or the fans are spinning loud enough to drown the noise out. In any case, the ENERMAX's noise performance is okay for this unit. Now, as for cooling performance, this unit is great. So for the 100% fan speed testing, this is the best cooler I've tested on this channel with an average temperature of just 62.9 degrees Celsius. For reference, this is just over a degree better than the Vitro V360 at max fan speed, and that cooler has a 360mm rad, as well as produced 7 decibels more of noise during the same test. Now, once normalized to 35 decibels, the results do shift a little bit and show why the fans are the weak link here. So in this test, the LIQMAX 3 performs well with an average temperature of 66 degrees Celsius. The Vitro V360 for reference does outpace it slightly, coming in at 64.9 degrees Celsius. Again, the V360 has a 360 millimeter radiator, so by default, it should perform better. And so the ENERMAX LIQMAX 3 is a solid budget AIO all around. It has solid performance as well. I would have no issue recommending it to anyone with a current mainstream CPU or older, and it should suit most users' needs with ease. If you guys want to check out some other options you guys have, make sure you click here, and I'll see you guys in the next one.